deep, I guess would be the way to question it. This is a growing issue in my mind. And I think it's more, there's more demand, and maybe it's just because I'm getting old, I don't know. But I think there's more demand in our culture for this skill, if you will, this tool, this resource to be more frequently applied to our own souls so we can experience more of the freedom that I think we claim, but we don't live out. Okay, so can I hear from you what showed up in your group as you discussed this, your experience with forgiveness? And I will point to you if you don't talk soon. Forgive me.
So I'll jump out there with one thing that was just my processing of our three stories together is that you can come intellectually at the notion of forgiveness and say, this is something I hear I need to do as a Christian in some way. And you get to that place in your head, but if you're awake and paying attention, you may see my heart is not there. And you can, at that point, you have a choice to be like the rat and say, okay, I'll just say sorry. You know, I'll say, or the other way, I'll say I forgive, because it's just a word. Or you can say, what am I going to do about this dissonance between my head and my heart? And staying in the tension, in that tension, and pursuing and meditating and wrestling with scriptures and whatever other ways to say, why is there this gap and I can't get my heart where my head is, forces you into a learning process that goes far beyond that situation, because you see a theological notion in a different way, you see a scripture in a different way. And all of that to say, the short form of what I'm saying is, pursuing forgiveness forces you into a growth process.
Yeah, I would agree. I would add something to that if I can. Hope you could hear it. My bias is that what happens to most of us in our fragmented state, which I'm assuming was the product of walking out of the garden. We were not only separated from God, but we were separated from creation, and we were separated from ourselves, as well as separated from each other. That's why forgiveness is offered to us, to heal that separation, to bring us back into relationship with the Holy. Without forgiveness, there's no possible chance that will occur. So, I think where we make a mistake, this is my hobby horse, that I think there's a psychological side to this, knowledge of yourself and understanding and awareness of who you are as a person and a being, and a spiritual dimension, which means that how do I work my relationship with the Holy? And I think what happens is those two need to come together, or this will not ever take place, this merger of heart and head, etc. I find people that are diligent in their practice of therapy, or diligent in their practice of the discipline spiritually, and no freedom ensues. My hunch is freedom comes from the reintegration of both psychology, if you will, the person of us, and the spiritual piece of us. And if that's not dealt with, which takes grief, by the way, at the center of it, I can't go forward. So I think that's a big piece of this puzzle. Anyway, good comment. Somebody else? I'm going to point. Probably won't make any difference.
When can we ask questions?
Now. Don't make one up.
If forgiveness does not involve releasing anger, and it does not involve releasing hate, and it does not let go of the desire for revenge, what is the emotional component of forgiveness? Because I've always thought, I can understand the difference between anger and hate, but I always thought that that true forgiveness did involve a releasing of my desire to hate your guts, and of my desire that bad things happen to you. And if I hold on to those things, I don't think I would feel very free.
Well, I would say yes and no. I think the order is what.
That surprises me.
No, I would say, we want to make this linear, and it's not linear.
Right.
So my hunch is that we would rather resolve the feelings, thinking that that'll work backwards to transforming the heart. And my hunch is that heart transformation takes place when I change the way I'm looking at something. That's the perspective. And then when I come out of that, what changes is my feeling, the emotional side. I begin to see it differently. I begin to understand that my seeking vengeance, that's why I tell you the story of the buried kindergarten class. It just is impossible to make vengeance make sense. How many movies do you watch have vengeance at the core of the plot? And how many movies are, more of them by the way, are being more honest, are showing the dissatisfaction of trying vengeance as the core. My point is, if I try to get rid of that move in my own soul, at the expense of doing the work that my soul requires, I cover up. I pretend. This is something I do rather than something I am. So my being, in my mind, comes before my doing. Can I do that? Did I do that too quick?
But
Does that make sense?
when I've done it and I've been it, am I still going to hold on to hatred towards this person, and am I going to still want revenge against them?
Probably not toward them, but you're going to still hate the fact that it occurred.
Well, yeah.
And you're
I'm
going,
right there with you.
so you can't get rid of that feeling, is my point.
The question was, what is forgiveness supposed to feel like?
Free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Free from being self-absorbed, maybe would be the way to say it. I don't know if that has the impact on you that it does on me, but I find the older I get, the more selfish I feel. And I hate that. I don't want to be more selfish. But it seems like that's the way I'm structured, and I'm probably less selfish functionally. I'm hoping. Ask Nancy privately, would you? I think I'm actually less selfish in a functional way, but I'm more aware of how self-absorbed I am. And I like this phrase because it helps me understand it. If I am going to be free, I have to have myself off of my hands. Now, some of you have played sports, and you know what this phrase means, being in the zone. Now, being in the zone means that you almost don't even know you're playing the game. You're hitting great shots, you're getting the ball, your serves go in, whatever the deal is. But you don't have yourself on your hand. The minute you start thinking about the next shot, how it feels, you're going to go, what am I doing? And the ball will go right by you, and you say, that was interesting. As a public speaker, your mind will really betray you when you start thinking about what you're saying. And you go, oh my goodness, where was I? And then you have to ask the crowds, where was I? They should have some help. You've lost it completely. It's that piece. So I think one of the major freedoms, is I'm no longer self-absorbed. Now, there's another piece to this. I think what lack of forgiveness does is it fuses you to the perpetrator. There is no possible freedom in that move. And that takes self-absorption to be there. Because you're saying, just like this person said, I'm going to hold on to my revenge toward you because that's the last ace I have. This means that to forgive puts you in harm's way again. Did you know that? You put yourself in a place to be hurt again. So that's another piece of what makes this hard. But does that help a little?
Mark, can I
Oh,
say
sure,
something
mention
to
my
you?
name, there's 80.
What's his address?